What is up, everyone? How's it going? Hope everyone's having a great weekend. I am this close to finally finishing Passover. So, yeah, I'll be glad when that's over because yeah. You get sick of matzah after a while. So, what's everyone been doing this weekend? Happy Easter? Is that rude? I wouldn't go saying that to people that are Jewish, but I'm not going to take malice from it. I know with your intentions well, but yeah. Anyway, did y'all see that apparently there's a new signal gate that happened? So we're now on what? Signal leaks, what, 3.0, I guess? Yeah. Lovely. So if we're counting down, we have the whole 2016 administration where there were signal issues where they were using signal. They got sued quite a bit in the first administration. What's up, Hans? What's up, Kara? And then we had what do you call it? The 2.0 issues. What was that? Back in March, which is Pete Hegseth, his little group, and then I forgot which person I covered it in my video. That they added to. Been gardening. How are you doing? What you been gardening? I got a little herb garden upstairs. I gotta start my garden outside, even though it's a little bit late. For all my stuff, I mostly do herbs so that I can cook and everything. Oregano, basil, Thai basil. I'm gonna probably put some lavender in there as well, and got a bunch of rosemary, thyme. I got so many herbs that we have an issue with using them fast enough. We're buying instead of buying like the little containers that cost like $5 a piece. We just cut off clumps. We're using more thyme, oregano, rosemary than we normally would because yeah, it's just great. It's totally worth it to grow your own herbs and everything. It's a little bit of an investment. You got to get the proper lighting and everything. So what I did is I have a plant rack with LED lights that came with it, and then I got an LED light on top of it for some extra lighting. And I went to Trader Joe's and I bought their $5 little basil things, and it's paid for itself, honestly. Planting sunflowers. I've had sunflowers. Sunflowers are really great. They're a bit of work though. So who was it this time that had the leak? Well, Pete Hegseth apparently had another chat. Yes, Pete Hegseth again. That guy needs to stop hitting the bottle so hard. He obviously ain't stopped drinking if this is his logic. His wife and his brother, as well as allegedly his attorney, his personal attorney, were all in a chat this time. Let me see if I can pull up the link here. I was reading it through, I got wind of this on Blue Sky, and I was actually in the middle of writing a script for it to cover it in the YouTube and everything like that. Your garden sounds way better than mine. It's a little something. I have pictures of it in my Blue Sky and Mastodon. I got to post some upgrades. Nothing major, just an indoor little herb garden. And then I got mint that, I got mint that grows on the side like crazy. Be careful if you ever plant mint, by the way. It is a weed. It will overtake your yard. So unless you really like mint, don't plant mint. What's up, Sir Hobbiton, over on the TikTok side. So let me see if I can pull up this. Signalgate 3.0. I know New York Times is going to paywall me. So hold on. Signalgate. Hold on. Signalgate. Everyone's calling it 2.0, but honestly, I think they're forgetting that this is 3.0. Happy 420 day. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Google lost the court case. Yeah, they lost their second court case. I talked about that, I think, in the last stream. So, yeah, Hegseth reportedly shared Yemen war plans in another chat with his wife and brother, and a lawyer. So, this, according to blah, blah, blah. The group created by Hegseth before his confirmation as defense secretary was named Defense Team Huddle, and initially intended for administrative discussions. Yeah, so this is, yeah, it was not a great look. So I've just been refining a little script to talk about this. It's not going to go as in depth as the hour-long expose we had because that was not just about the Signal Gate. It was about the Mar-a-Lago files. It was about the Obama BlackBerry, Hillary Clinton's private email server. I wanted to get everything out. It was an hour-long expose because I knew there was going to be a whole lot of whataboutism. So if you're interested in that video, it's up on YouTube. Um, it's an hour-long video. Don't expect these deep dives to happen that often from me because I'm not a full-time content creator. I just do this on the side as a fun thing to help build a community and give people education, resources, and a community y'all can, connect with. Because during COVID, I realized that a lot of people that found me didn't have the resources or community that I have to be able to uh, uh, um, connect and grow and everything, which is the most valuable thing if you want to grow in the IT and cybersecurity field, is not just going and learning things, it's connecting with people and, learning through osmosis. And because you can't learn everything in this field. Even I do the same thing where I have lots of friends and everything, but I was fortunate enough to have a lot of friends in real life through various stages of my life to be able to connect with different people. Um, that's why I've always told people that, the most important thing isn't just going and learning these things, it's finding communities and especially in person communities to grow and such like that. That's why I've made in many different pieces of content, I rehash on the point of you need to go meet people, you need to connect, stop being such an introvert and think that you can just stay in your bubble and, that's going to be fine. That's where I notice a lot of the weaknesses, but by the way, talking to a lot of people, when they want to grow into their career. It's like, well, I'm doing these labs, I'm doing, I got these certs, I'm going to college, and I'm like, that's great, but are you meeting people? And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, Eventbrite, Meetup, local DEF cons, or the DEF con, B-sides, local OWASP groups, all these different things going on. Ham Radio has a lot of tech people in there as well. They tend to be of the older variety, which is why I'm also going to be making a plea in some upcoming content on everyone getting into ham radio or at least GMRS. That's why we have a Radioheads channel. I think it's something that is a lost art that a lot of people aren't really getting into, and a lot of people are deploying Wi-Fi, but not understanding Wi-Fi signal propagation. And a lot of that comes through understanding of various kinds of signal, and I think it's a valuable thing to learn ham as a whole when you want to do networking and everything like that. But that's a whole other tangent I went on. How old is this guy, Pete Hegseth? I think he's in his 40s. Not mistaken. How are you doing in the land of the free? We're not doing good! Yeah. My issue with my video right now is I went a little too quick with it, so I'm trying to expand it just a little bit. YouTube likes to have that 10-minute mark, and I tend to speak a little fast, as y'all have known. Ask ChatGPT to be your mentor, give it resources you want to learn. Yeah, and then you also can join the Discord server that I have as well. We have plenty of people in there. We've actually just passed the 1,000 human mark. So we have over 1,000 humans in my Discord server, and it has its ebbs and flow because everyone has their own life and everything, and a lot of us are actually in the career or we're in, school or, various stages of our career, and we like to share resources with each other, and there's some great resources in there as well. There's no charging, anything like that. The only money you have to spend is the money you voluntarily, want to spend for boosting the server or tipping me for the content I make and everything like out there. That's up to you. I don't require anything. There are ads on my videos and stuff like that to help support the content I'm making and everything like that. But you're under no obligation to buy anything. But if you do, I have a Patreon. I have a merch store as well. All those links are in the bio for everything. So, yeah, you're more than welcome to join the Discord if you're looking for, a community to help mentor and guide you into different things. The honest truth is I wouldn't be really looking for just, one mentor. I have, throughout my life, I've had, 3 or 4 different mentors at various stages of my life. Sometimes you lose track with, touch with them and stuff like that, but, it's the life. You know, And then also, I'm looking into possibly going to DEF CON and B-Sides this year. I talked about that a little bit on the Discord as well. It's a few months out, so there's still time to figure out deals and everything like that. And I gotta make sure, work's okay with it and everything. They seem to be okay with it. It's more like, are you gonna officially have me do that? If not, then that changes plans, and, we'll figure it out. But someone needs to come in and smash his phone. It's not a matter of smash phone. It's a matter of the human is always the weakest part of anything when it comes to operational security and cybersecurity. As I tell people all the time, I can build you a castle. I can put a drawbridge in, a moat, fill it with piranhas, alligators, have archers in the tower. I can do, think of your wildest imagination of the most powerful and secure fortresses possible. But if you open the drawbridge and let them in, there's not a damn thing that I can do to help you out. And that's what I think a lot of people need to consider when it comes to cybersecurity. The human is always going to be the biggest point of weakness to anything. For example, I know I pick on Linus Tech Tips quite a bit, but he's a clear example of it. Why did he get compromised? Every single time it came down to a human doing something they shouldn't do. What do you recommend for encrypted message service for phones? Signal? Yeah, Signal's fine. Signal's totally fine. The only issue I've been having with Signal and the whole Signal gate has to be it's not the right tool for the right job when it comes to government communications. As an individual, or even as a journalist, it's plenty fine. There's Matrix out there. But by God, do not use Telegram. Telegram is just no! No! So, yeah, we don't like Telegram. Telegram is, it's no bueno. It's no bueno. I can't figure out why the, TikTok chat is not feeding into the, multi-stream tool that I have. It just changed all of a sudden. Alright. Have you tried RuneScape Dragon Wilds yet? No, I have not. I have not played RuneScape in like a decade. I used to play that all the time in like elementary and middle school, if that tells you how long I've been playing it. It was a fun game, a fun time killer, but I don't really have much interest in it. Although in a little bit we'll be playing Schedule 1. We'll probably get into Path of Exile 2 again, but I'm also waiting for the newest Doom game to come out. That's going to be coming out in May. I'm a big fan of Doom and Quake and those games and everything like that. I used to tell Ram to buy oregano. Can't convince them to switch. How do I say this without giving away too much? Oh well. Statute of limitations is over. Yeah, I used to buy those things online back in the day when I used to do that stuff. Haven't touched that in quite a while. I have no qualms with anyone that wants to touch that stuff or do that stuff. It's legal in many places. It's just not my bag of tea anymore. It's a fun time in college. You could use other apps. I would rather even see people use iMessage than Telegram. iMessage is at least end-to-end encrypted. Telegram is not encrypted at all. Like, at all. I've been gaming on Fedora, works great, but have you noticed Proton takes a bit to start up? Yeah, that's because it's usually doing the whole, like, what do you call, pre-shaders, stuff like that. Or shaders and everything like that. Yeah, it does, it needs a little bit. Last Epoch is awesome on it. Wait, what? What Last Epoch? Dragon Wilds is like Enshrouded, Valheim, and RuneScape had a baby. It's amazing. Is it like a whole new, like, thing? Like, you have a whole new account and everything? What's up, Prisms? How's it going? Why do you not like Telegram? I have a whole YouTube video going into it. I think there's 2 YouTube videos talking about it. I talked about this when the founder was arrested in the EU. So there's multiple reasons for Telegram. Telegram is not by default encrypted. To answer your question, was it Hans? Where did I see that question? I'm on 3 different platforms right now. Hold on. Bedrock. Bedrock said RCS is encrypted, I think. No, it's not. By default, it's not encrypted. Now, the confusion here is that if you're using Google Messages to another device that's using Google Messages, it can be encrypted. But encryption is not a standard by default in RCS. My understanding is that is going to be something that they are going to have in future revisions, but as it stands right now, RCS does not require that. And not to mention, iOS uses an older version of the RCS standard, so it would take some time to get that encrypted communication by default from device to device where everything's implicitly encrypted. But RCS is encryption by option, not by default. The same problem that I have with Telegram. And Telegram has other issues because they got in trouble in the EU because they were not moderating their systems. And the reason why they got in trouble with not moderating the systems as to oppose, like, say, Signal and WhatsApp. I have my own issues with WhatsApp on the metadata level, but they are end-to-end encrypted, which means they don't have access necessarily to all the content. So there's not really a way to moderate that content until we get into, like, homographic encryption and stuff like that. That's a whole other subject and deal of another day we can get into because I only know the surface level of that. But anyway, the issue with Telegram is by virtue of that everything is not encrypted, especially group chats. Group chats are not encrypted whatsoever. Telegram had access to all the message content and chose not to moderate the content. Not to mention, I've seen firsthand examples when I was helping out individuals that were in Ukraine and Russia when the war had just started that were trying to flee. And all of the individuals who were using Telegram to try to flee Russia got caught at the border, but none of the people using WhatsApp and Signal did when communicating with me and other people. So Telegram, there's a lot of issues with it. And I know people are going to say, well, as the MT proto encryption and all that, there's questions around if there's potential backdoors with it because it's a proprietary protocol. But again, as I said, that is an optional encryption, and it only is on a one-to-one basis. It's not by default. Later version of PoE. Oh, okay. I keep trying to tell them to switch. Yep. What's up, bro? WTF is going on? The setting up automatic updates on your router, good. So this is a question of security versus stability. So this is the question we have in enterprise settings. A lot of enterprises do not have automatic updates by default because they usually want to, like, hold back within 2 versions unless there's security issues that are really severe or, you know, other bugs that are in newer versions. The reason why is you want to work on trusted, stable, known good versions, not bleeding edge. Now, as a home user, that may not be as much of a consideration for you, but a lot of people aren't going to routinely check for updates on their software. Even their printer needs regular updates because printers are a pretty insecure device. There's been attacks where people have used the fax modem to upload things through fax that then are able to send malware through the network. I've seen some interesting attacks that happened over the years in different businesses that I worked for. And that is a consideration you need to have. So the question is stability versus security. So if you're a home user, I generally recommend most people to just do automatic updates because you're not going to be usually on top of that to set up a cadence to automatically check for updates and do all of that stuff. That's a personal decision, but generally for most people in a consumer home-based setup, I'd say just do automatic updates. It's more often than not going to cause it's not going to cause issues, and if anything, it'll probably be beneficial for you because when there are vulnerabilities out there, you're probably not as likely to be up to date on it. And you know, yeah, if you're not monitoring and testing it, auto update it. Exactly, Jim. But I just want to at least get that out. I'm good, bro. I don't even know what's wrong with Telegram, but I'm gonna just uninstall it now. It's not that there's an issue with Telegram per se. It's just the issues around how it's architected, and it gives people the false sense of security. In the same way that 4chan gave a lot of people a false sense of anonymity and security and privacy. Because as we are going to see in the video that I actually just recorded a script for, they were not patching their systems for years, which is apparently why they got taken down. Like, apparently there were systems that were allegedly unpatched since 2016. I have a phone interview tomorrow for an internship. Any advice? Confidence. Just be confident, but not cocky. What I would also do is you have it tomorrow. Do some OSINT, some open source intelligence on the organization that you're going to be working for. Learn about the company. Learn about what they are. Ask about the company. You know, like, you don't want to just say, yeah, I will just want to learn here to learn the tech. Learn about the company and think about, potentially the big picture of where your role is going to fit in that IT, cybersecurity, all of that. I generally recommend that for any job that you're looking into. Don't just say, yeah, I'm applying here because I need a job. Because the question I like to ask people, and many other people in teams like to ask, is, why do you want to work here? And you need to be able to answer that question. Because sometimes it doesn't come down to, oh, this guy is skilled or anything. You actually want to be there rather than just getting a job. Most of my family use Facebook Messenger. Thoughts? Kill it with fire. I'm not a big fan of Meta. Facebook Messenger is not private at all. Yes, they do have the Secrets Messenger chat, secret message chat and all that stuff. But the reality is Facebook is scanning all of your messages, every bit of data that you're putting in there to see how they can actually gain ads out of you. I would, even though I'm not a fan of WhatsApp, I would much rather people be on WhatsApp, even though it has a whole other issue of metadata with, Meta using, owning that app and everything. But, a lot of my family, I do all those chats over iMessage and Signal, or even, if it's Android, it's the RCS way and everything like that. It's a completely new game. You should check it out. Skilling is way easier. I'll check it out eventually, but I don't have a lot of time for games, to be honest. Right now, I'm diving deep into ham radio, and I've been studying for a couple months now to get my general radio license, and then I'm working on my CCSP, and then hopefully in 2026, I'm going to go for my OSCP as my third ever cert. Right now, my CISSP, I want to get my CCSP, and then I want to get my OSCP. And then I'm probably going to take a break for a while on certs because go big or go home. I don't need much more than that, I guess, for my job and all that. I got 10 years of IT and cybersecurity experience on my build because Apple are stubborn. Yeah. What is the best private message app? Tin cans and string. That is the best private app. Just tin cans and string. Go up to your buddy, hand him a string, tighten that string, and then speak to them. Short of that, Signal, Matrix with the encrypted channels enabled. Mean you're not doing a CCNA? I don't need to do a CCNA. I don't work with Cisco devices. That's a vendor-specific cert. It's the same reason why I don't go after WatchGuard or Sophos or any of those certs. There may be potential for me to look at like Zscaler and CrowdStrike and Proofpoint and things that I actually deal with on a day-to-day basis, but even then, is it really worthwhile? Depends. Messenger trash, but okay for hi, what's up type of messages. Yeah. I seem SSH enabled on my router, but it won't let me connect to it. You might have to look up the documentation for how that works. It may also just be Telnet. I've seen that sometimes. Anyway. And you shouldn't be using Telnet. Printer firmware updates usually just update the checks for non-genuine cartridges. Yeah, not necessarily, although I do have issues with the way printers are requiring you to use their own version of ink and everything like that. I really think we need an open source 2D printer. We have open source 3D printers, but we don't have open source 2D printers. And we need an open source, right to repair friendly printer. I don't know if anyone's going to take that case on. But if I were to say, have the criteria for an open source 2D printer, one, it must have networking, it must have USB, it must have a fax modem, it must have the capability for fax and scan, two-sided, scanning and printing, or the option to upgrade and all of that stuff. But also, it should have the capability, it probably would have it run on Linux, probably with a Raspberry Pi in there. Although you're probably going to need some kind of Arduino to have the precision for the back and forth and everything. I'm not too into the the specifics of that, but ideally what you're going to want to do is firewall the different components in there, and instead of being ink cartridge based, I would rather it be a tank printer. And then it would be nice if we could somehow have, like, we have 3D printer filament where, it's just like, oh, you get 1 3/4 millimeter, 1.75 millimeter filament, and you just adjust your settings and then go. But I don't know if a 2D printer is ever going to really happen in an open source and right to repair friendly manner. And what's weird is that it's such a simple device. We've had them for so many years. I don't know why it's not really happened. Or maybe it has, and it's just not gotten a lot of exposure, and it's kind of failed. But, yeah. I have a... Oh, yeah, we already said that. Is Brave a good browser? I think it's pretty good. One of my mentors, actually, was a project manager over at Brave, and she was pretty awesome and taught me a lot. And another person I know actually knows Brendan Eich, and... yeah, it's okay. It's not my primary browser of choice. I still use Firefox. I know everyone's like up in arms about the privacy policy changes, but I made a YouTube video talking about that, and it's a little bit over-exaggerated and overblown, because legal compliances and all that make everything kind of muddy when it comes to these privacy policies. They're not designed to be end-user friendly. They're designed to be a legal CYA for companies. That's just how it is. Why fax? Plain old telephone system is vanishing here in the UK, and you have anyone ask for the ability to fax for Deskgate. Hate to break it to you, but in the US, we still have a lot of medical systems and legal systems that fax. It's a heavily used system when it comes to my attorneys and even medical systems, because technically it's still HIPAA compliant, even though when you're using VoIP, it's not. But yeah, it's still used in the US, like it or not. There's even some government agencies that I've dealt with that you have to fax things. How do I disable SSH port on my TP-Link? There should be an option to disable it, but if not, just get something better that actually does allow you to disable it. At a certain point, you gotta like look back and say, hey, this is consumer off-the-grade hardware. If I'm wanting to get more than this out of it, I need to actually move into something that's more of the small office, home office, enterprise kind of hardware. Whether that be Unify or pfSense, or some people want OpenSense, or there's a few other solutions out there. I know people that have WatchGuard, Sophos, Fortinet, whatever in their homes. I mean, that's just a question you need to ask yourself. I'm not telling everyone, hey, you need to do this for sure, but I'm just saying at a certain point, you got to realize you're using off-the-shelf hardware, and there's only so much you can do and so much you're allowed to do per manufacturer. Where you get that dope shirt? I got this at a Linux convention years ago. Linode was there. This is one of the original Linode shirts. I got a few of them. I'm a sucker for vendor shirts, so if any vendor wants to send me shirts, I will gladly wear them as long as I'm okay with your product. I got a Brave shirt somewhere. They sent me a Brave shirt because I actually talked about them pretty well on TikTok and stuff. And I've got System 76 shirts, I've got Datadog shirts, I've got Grafana shirts, and I've got a CentOS shirt that I got as well. Of course, you can't get CentOS anymore, but I've got one. Yeah, Meta sells you as a profile. Yeah, whether you're on there or not. What's more powerful, being IT or Cybersecurity Pro? I say it's 6 or half dozen the other. It's really the same. It depends on what your goals are doing, because you still need IT professionals and you need cybersecurity professionals. IT's in charge of administrating a lot of the systems. Cybersecurity is in charge of securing a lot of the systems. So they go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. However, I will say that the common misconception, and people get upset about this all the time, is that entry level in cybersecurity isn't entry level per se. In most cases, they usually want to see IT experience of a few years. And a lot of people get upset, well, they need to stop calling it entry level. It's still entry level. It's the same thing as if you look in the medical field, you have specialties like oncology, cardiology, all of this. You don't start being a cardiologist or oncologist without being a doctor first. Same thing in cybersecurity. But yeah, I think there's not really one that's more powerful than the other. You still need both. Happy holidays. Thank God Passover's almost over. Sick of matzah. You're not doing a CCNA. I think I talked about this already. I've talked about this actually in my own cert video. I don't think I talked about it, maybe. Maybe I should go into it in another video. But a lot of people, when they start going into tech, think they need to get a CCNA. I tell people to only worry about getting a CCNA if you're working with Cisco hardware. Because the truth is, not every enterprise or business you're going to work with is using Cisco. I know a lot of businesses that are using Palo Alto, Juniper, Aruba. There's a lot of vendors out there. So don't get yourself pigeonholed into thinking, well, I gotta get a CCNA because I'm into networking. Get a CCNA if your work happens to be using Cisco hardware, because a lot of companies often will pay for your certifications and education. But don't think you need to go out and get that to get a job working in networking, if that makes sense. Focus on your core conceptual knowledge, and then as you level up your career, figure out what you want to specialize in different hardware stacks and software stacks. Oh, what's going on? The question I get asked. Oh yeah. Is setting the system-wide proxy worth it if I want to be full anonymous? No. If you really think that, this is what I talk about all the time, and I think I covered this in my VPN video that I made on YouTube, about a 40-minute video of me ranting about how VPNs are not a how VPNs are overhyped and not a magic bullet. I know you're talking specifically about proxies. Privacy, security, anonymity, and I'm talking about anonymity in the upcoming 4chan video. I'm talking about how they got compromised. I just recorded that before I hopped on stream. I got to edit it and everything, so hopefully that'll be out in a couple of days or so. But anonymity is the most fragile concept of privacy, security, and anonymity. It's like privacy is the ability to close your curtains and not have anyone seeing your windows. Security is better locks on your doors, bars on the windows, a dog maybe, like having an alarm system, like I'm just giving you analogies here. Anonymity, though, is like wearing a paper mache mask in many cases, or just wearing a mask out in public. But it's not hard to take a mask off someone. So if you're relying on one tool or any tool rather than working on your behaviors for anonymity, that's where your weakness is going to be. The problem is too many people worry about how to access the internet to be secure or private or anonymous, rather than their behaviors to be private, secure, or anonymous. The weakest point in any one of these discussions is always the human. That's what it's always going to come down to. So it's more about what you're doing than how you're doing it. And yes, tools are there to help you with little gaps and stuff like that. But if you're using the tool wrong because of your behavior or using the wrong tool for the job, you're not understanding it. And that's why I get upset with a lot of the people that like jump in and say like, well, I'm just going to install Kali Linux on my box. And I'm like, Kali's not meant to be a daily driver. Well, I'm just going to use Tails Linux to access Tor. That's not really the best use case of it. You should probably look at like something like Unix on a virtual machine if you're going to be using the same machine day in and day out. You know, like it's understanding these different things, but even then, it's about your behaviors, about using all these tools. Should I go to the FBI after grad into cybersecurity and clearance, or what do you recommend? Well, I will be honest. From what I'm told, government doesn't pay as well as private sector. I'm not saying that, you know, you shouldn't be a Fed. For some people, I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand a lot of the FBI is the right place, but they still have some very archaic and bad attitudes when it comes to security and privacy. Like, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. They've changed a corner with the recent Salt Typhoon compromises, but also right now, not trying to get political here, now is not a good time to really get into specifically federal government work. There is so much uncertainty because of what Elon Musk has done with Doge that there's no guarantees of your job, stability, you know, things like that. I wouldn't really look too much into that. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents there. But, I mean, there's many different paths out there for cybersecurity. I would just say explore what's out there if you're still early in your career and see where, you know, the world takes you. With everything getting automated and all these agile sprints, I might as well get my safe certs. These Scrum Masters are making way more money than me. Yeah, it's interesting what Scrum drives you nuts with. We finally got our Scrum Masters to understand, hey, we're not making widgets. We can't really do agile planning. Our priority is always shift. So we at least are just doing straight Kanban, Kanban, whatever the hell you want to call them, boards. Yeah. Any idea about Flint 2 GL? I haven't heard of that one, so I have no idea. No, Japan is fax heavy still. Japan's really interesting of a requirement of the old and new world still. Got the YubiKey app and a key, but I don't know if it works. I use the YubiKey app for a lot of my stuff. The YubiKey app is only there for the TOTP authentication. You don't necessarily need the YubiKey app to use the FIDO Web Authn. That's built into your device. The drivers and all that should already be built into many modern systems that you should just be able to work with your browser or your device. And when it asks for a security key, it'll come up with the pop-up and everything on my Android and iPhone. It works pretty well there. I have a few Sophos firewalls here. Hey, Sophos, not bad. I actually started with Sophos UTM Home Edition before I got into pfSense. It's a pretty great way to learn the Sophos ecosystem when I was dealing with an MSP that mostly did Sophos. But if I recall at the time, you had a 50 IP address maximum. Like 50 IPs total in your entire network you could control. So it's a bit limiting there because you can, I know a lot of people are like, 50 IPs is quite a lot. You can run into 50 IPs really fast in a nice home lab. I know I'm running above that right now just with all the different things I have. How fast is your internet? I'm on old copper. I keep bothering my ISP to get me fiber so I can have synchronous, but it's a gig at least. But yeah. I would like it to be synchronous at least. I would rather have a 300 by 300 connection than a 1 gig down 50 meg up situation. But it is what it is. That's unfortunately how it is in a lot of parts of the US still is we haven't modernized a lot of our Gigabit cable does exist. I know gigabit cable does exist, but the ISPs don't really work with a lot of the different systems out there. And that's the unfortunate reality of things. Talking about cybersecurity, recommended US best home VPN router. Well, I don't know why you're specifying a VPN router. If you're talking cybersecurity, I'd tell you to go pfSense, or at the very least OpenSense. I'm more partial to pfSense for a home. But you're going to be tinkering with a lot of bells and whistles, and I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend a VPN on your firewall/router. Because the problem is, I've played with this a little bit. When I was doing a lot of Xbox gaming, and I had a VPN for it to route over so I could play different matches and all that. You can potentially double NAT because of how it routes out things, and it can cause other issues with connectivity, having a whole VLAN connect over VPN. So, yeah. Is there a post-Passover meal? Yeah, it's just anything that it doesn't involve kosher for Passover food, like no matzah, all that. I think we're just getting a pizza. What do you think about Doge going into other government agencies' servers and leaving a back door for them to get files later? You even have to ask. It's bad. It's bad. And they should feel bad. There's nothing that Doge is doing that requires you legitimately to have backdoor access to systems like that. Let's put it this way. If I were doing the very same things that Doge was doing in any job, not only would it be unethical, but it would be illegal. And I would not be surprised if this is actually already being called illegal, and in the future, we may see this being reviewed and audited. But the problem is, a lot of our government doesn't hold themselves accountable, so I wouldn't hold my breath either. They didn't go after Hillary Clinton properly with her email server and that whole mishandling of things. They didn't go after Trump's Mar-a-Lago. Well, they did, I think, with that whole thing. Yeah, they did hold him accountable more so than they did Hillary Clinton. I'm not saying this whole, like, oh, it's a witch hunt because they're Republican. No, I'm saying, like, I call them as I see them. I don't care if you got a D. I don't care if you've got an R. I don't care if you're an independent. Wrong is wrong. And if you're going to go on this high horse about, well, what Hillary Clinton did is wrong, then you need to call out everything Trump and that administration has been doing wrong. The Signal Gate, the Doge, everything like that. It is wrong. Period. And I don't want to hear this whole excuse that I've heard some people say, well, the Democrats did it too. I don't give an F if the Democrats did it. Hold them accountable too. And that's the damn reason why a lot of people don't care for Democrats, is because it's this good enough for thee, but not for me attitude. I don't care much for politics, because I hate the whole idea of people having sacred cows in politics. Like, well, I like Hillary Clinton. I didn't. I didn't like her. I didn't like Trump. And I think the reality is that's where a lot of America actually stands, is we don't like neither the Republicans nor the Democrats. We, the average American, doesn't like either one. And that's why we are so dysfunctional. I think we need more than two parties. I think we need it. I'm not necessarily saying libertarian or green is the answer either. They've got their own issues. But I am saying the system that we have currently is not a system that is functioning. And just because it's the system that we've had doesn't mean it's the system that we should keep. If I need a job by like end of May and I want to get into networking, generally tech savvy possible, it's always possible. But the issue is right now, the market as a whole is a bit troubling because of all this economic uncertainty. The unfortunate reality, and I hate that we keep getting into these little political tangents here, but the reality is that I'm going to tell you all this. If you're working in technology and specifically in cybersecurity, you do not have the luxury nor the privilege to be ignorant of politics, because you may not F with politics, but politics will F with you. And you have to learn about compliancy with all types of laws out there. I have to learn about the EU's Cybersecurity Resiliency Act, even though I'm in the U.S., to see the implications for U.S. companies and how we deal with them. GDPR, HIPAA, SOX, high tech. We had the DSA, the DCA. You had all these different laws. And then you also have, what is it, in Canada, PIPEDA, South Africa, POPIA, China, PIPL. You have to learn about all these things. And that's why I get upset with like some cybersecurity people that say, well, I don't pay attention to the news or politics because, it's like, that's part of our job, though. We have to understand it. And these tariffs right now are wreaking havoc on a lot of businesses' potential future outlook. And it's causing turmoil in the ability for them to consider hiring, because hiring an employee right now is an investment that they have to at least see for the next few months and years. And can they keep that investment up? But if their bottom line is being affected by tariffs, which are eating up their revenues, and they have to adjust, but then the tariffs themselves increase the cost of the core product, which means they may lose some clientele as a result of it. That wreaks havoc overall in the employment market. You may not feel those effects immediately, but trust me, it's on everyone's mind. And that's the reality of things. I've seen more brocade equipment than Cisco equipment in an enterprise. I work in DoD, LMAO. Oh, interesting. I'm amazed the 4chan stayed uncompromised for as long as it did. I really am too, seeing as 4chan was the birthplace of the anonymous hackers. Make that very clear. I don't believe that they are a elitist hacker group. Anyone that's in cybersecurity knows that they're really not anything more than a moniker that anyone can take up, and they're not some centralized elitist hacker group. It's usually these days a bunch of script kiddies running things and just doing things like, it always cracks me up whenever I see people that are like, well, isn't Anonymous going to do something about this? I'm like, they ain't going to do jack. Anonymous is just some people putting on a Guy Fawkes mask. I mean, the thing is, like, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of these channels you see on YouTube, on Twitter, on TikTok, all that, the anonymous channels, they're grifts, taking on views, making money off of people who don't know any better. And it cracks me up. I take furries by far more seriously than I do anonymous, because furries are something to fear. They are the My Little Ponies of your nightmares. Massive failure of other agencies like. Hey, thanks for the follow, Shoujo Boy. I don't know why my stream alerts are not working. I may have to reset that again. Today I learned my Xbox 360 died. Oh. Vampire. I have arrived with the jigs. We'll be doing schedule 1 in a little bit too. My internet is only 3 megabits per second. Oh, well, you get one too. Drop that in chats for the 3 megabit per second users. Surprised most U.S. citizens had cable as their first broadband service. I had DSL. DSL was the first thing. Cable just became a little bit more popular because more people had access to cable TV. DSL was kind of the first thing up until Doxus started to really take off. Best VPN for a burner? Well, as I said before, it's more about behaviors than, you know, what you're using or anything. But Molvad's pretty good. But, oh, thank you. But if you're expecting, to be able to do, like, your regular things on it, like streaming and all that, Molvad is not the best solution. It doesn't work that often. Proton VPN, though, which I am affiliated with, links in bio, they do work with streaming and a lot of different other services. But Molvad you can pay for in Bitcoin. You can Proton VPN as well, but you can also pay in Monero for Molvad. You can even pay cash potentially for their services. But remember, a VPN is not a magic silver bullet. If you are going to use, if you are going to use a VPN, if you're going to do things on a connection the same way without a VPN as you do on a VPN, you're effectively not doing anything. For example, what, you just hop on a VPN and then you log into Facebook and all the other regular accounts you do? You're not really giving yourself any anonymity there. You're just changing your IP, but yeah. A lot of countries, it's the least bad candidate now, pretty much. It was wrong when the Democrats did it too. Yep. Opinion on gun. I don't know where this is really relevant to it, but they're fun. I've had videos shooting. I do believe in an armed society being a polite society, but I also at the same time believe that maybe some people shouldn't legitimately have guns. But that's not really the kind of debate I want to have around here. Each their own. You have to remember, America is still very young. Oh, indeed we are. We're the young, rambunctious teenager on the block. How do I disable SSH port? On the TP link. You'll have to look that up. I don't really know how to do that. Plain, but I'm free from political agendas. All are evil. I agree with that. All politicians suck. Most politicians are just for themselves. You show me a politician, I will show you how they are a human that is fallible. Like, if for whatever reason I get some brain cells dead in my head and I decide I want to run for politics, I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes too. I think the problem with a lot of people is they hold some politicians to a higher standard, but I don't care what politician you show me. I'll show you at one point in their life where they were human and they made a mistake. Now, their difference is, did they learn from that mistake? Have they apologized for that mistake? Have they repeated that mistake? And the problem is a lot of politicians haven't. And that's ultimately the problem. Furries run the internet. Oh, absolutely. Understanding what is going on globally is essentially in IT roles, especially security compliance. Oh yeah, absolutely. Furries run the internet. Welcome to the Matrix. Are the CVE standards back up or is it still down? Yeah, CVE issues. So we're talking about the entire database where they thought that it was going to be shut down and everything. It looks like we're out of the clear. CISA did, I think, come in at the 11th hour and give them funding to keep it running. But this showcases a vulnerability with the CVE systems because they shouldn't be so dependent upon U.S. government funding. What I'm saying is, not only should private corporations, which do heavily depend on this, seek to contribute to this, and open source as a whole, let's make that clear, but other governments rely on these systems as well and should be contributing. It's ironic that the CVE systems didn't have a redundancy for finance in themselves. They didn't have a backup. That's a huge oversight, I think. And that's one that needs to be addressed. Because the problem is we're seeing is that the United States government isn't as stable as it once always was. And stability used to be one of our key assets to being the superpower that we are. So, yeah. ISDN. I've had an ISDN when I was a kid. VPN is really great for staying hidden, but Mulvad and possibly Proton or VPN are good. Yeah. Windows 11. Should I get a Tesla Plaid? Why would you want to get a Tesla at all in this economy? The honest truth is there's way better electric cars now. Tesla used to be the dominant leader in electric cars, but the problem is they've stagnated and they've squandered their first mover advantage. The Tesla Cybertruck is an example of how bad Elon's own designs are. Because the Tesla Cybertruck is the first truck that he actually came out with. And it's not even legal in a good chunk of the world. And it's literally glued on. I'm more interested in BYD and Xiaomi. I want those cars. BYD apparently has an electric car that's like only $7,800. We need to revise a lot of the U.S. laws that we have and regulations. A lot of them, if you actually look into it, are protectionist to protect American automakers. Like, even when we're looking at, like, the foreign cars of, you know, like, to prevent certain Mercedes, like, there's stupid regulations we have. Like, we need to have fixed headlights in the U.S. last I checked. So a lot of the safety features that Europe had on Mercedes, like the headlights that bend around the corner as you turn your wheel and everything like that, weren't legal. There's a lot of archaic regulations we have. Like, one that I recall is the EU crash test safety is different than the US. The US crash testing is done with crash test dummies without a seatbelt on, last I checked. Whereas in Europe, they do crash testing with a seatbelt on. And I don't need to explain to you, the consequences of having a seatbelt versus not are drastically different. And that's why we see such different configurations in car design. So there's a lot of things I think that need to be brought to modernization, as well as things that we do need to clear out in terms of regulations that are dated and protectionist that actually are hurting the American market. Because right now, I think the cheapest car we can get is a Nissan Versa for like $20K. But the rest of the world has cars that are like less than $10K. That's ridiculous. BYD has an electric car that's $7,800. Do you know how many people would love a $7,800 car? But the reason we don't do it is we're protecting the American auto industry, which makes no sense to me. That I believe in a proper market that we should be able to compete. If you want American innovation to be as good as you think it is, allow more competition for American companies to compete on that avenue. And if they actually have bad designs, things like that, we'll weed it out through testing. But a lot of the testing regulations, as I've said, and designs is protectionist to lobbying from the auto industry to protect them. Makes no sense to me. Lineage OS versus Graphene OS for privacy. On a privacy front, I think both are fine, but I prefer Graphene OS from a security front. Fortinet are probably disappointed if we still have CVEs. Fortinet had a lot of issues. I was hearing from friends in the military that they were ripping out a lot of Fortinet devices. I haven't been able to confirm that, but I know a lot of people in the DoD were like saying that to me, at least. Well, a lot of my friends that happen to be working in the DoD were saying that to me. Getting a Tesla isn't a flex anymore. I don't think getting a Tesla was really ever a flex. Or at least, not the flex they thought it was. I've honestly never really been a fan of Tesla. Well, let me rephrase that. I've always thought Tesla's a little bit overhyped. And I remember, what was it, in 2016, I think it was Keen Labs, proved why I thought it was overhyped. They were able to remotely exploit and control a Tesla in 2016. I think most of the car was running as root or something like that. And it just kind of proved to me that they're not designing these cars in the best way. And as time's gone on, we've seen the QC issues, quality control issues. We've seen the other issues come about with Tesla and everything. So, yeah, I don't think Tesla is really the flex that a lot of people think it is. And I've always had an issue with Tesla's use of screens. I need hard buttons. What's the best OS to guarantee complete privacy from a government that employs DPI? That would be tin cans and string. That is the most secure phone you will ever be able to use. You hand it to your friend, you keep that string taut, and no one can get a hold of your conversation unless they're within earshot. But seriously, the best way to stay private on the internet is not being on the internet. If you're worried about the government, number one, you're not that important. Number two, if you're really that worried because of the things that you're doing, you need to reconsider how you're doing those things. There's no magic bullet. There's no silver bullet. There's no magic tool that's going to just say, this is going to fix all my problems. It always comes down to user behavior. And it's not necessarily what you're doing, but how you're doing it. You have to remember that. The human is always the weakest link in cybersecurity. Your car isn't open source. Yeah. I mean, there are some kit cars out there that are pretty cool, but it'd be nice. Cybertruck will never be legal in the UK and a lot of the EU. Yeah, it's like technically a semi-truck, I think, or something like that for your classifications. I don't even understand how they're legal on US roads, to be honest. I don't get professors. They assigned all of my homework on Friday and made it due at 9 o'clock. Preparing you for the real world of corporate. Engineering professors. I was surprised people ride motorcycles without helmets. You do you, I guess. I mean, I'm all right with the idea of people riding without a helmet. Do I think it's a smart one? No. But agreed. You do you. Dacia Spring is one of the cheapest EVs over here. We don't have Dacia. We don't have them. We don't have BYD. We don't have Xiaomi. We don't have Opel. We don't have Renault. We don't have Clio. We don't have Peugeot. We don't have a lot of car companies that I wish we had out here. And a reason for a lot of that is American protectionist policies that make no sense because we delude ourselves into believing that we're number one, but are afraid of anyone coming in to test that. How to make the jailbroken iPhone secure? You can't. It's kind of an oxymoron. You're breaking through the walled garden, and by virtue of doing a jailbreak on a phone, you're taking advantage of an exploit in an iPhone. The iPhone out of the box is one of the most secure and private devices without reinstalling any new software. By jailbreaking it, you're breaking that. And to be honest, as someone that used to jailbreak iPhones and everything, there's really no reason to jailbreak anymore. A lot of the reasons we used to jailbreak our phones kind of don't exist anymore. There's really no advantage I see to jailbreak an iPhone anymore. And if you're that curious about customizing your phone, get an Android. Get an Android, install a custom ROM, like get a Pixel, install Graphene OS or something like that. In my country, reading political articles amounts to indefinite jail time. Oof. The steering by wire excludes them from a lot of countries. Yeah, I don't agree with steering by wire. I still like my mechanical links. I remember when I had an old Jeep. It's old now. I had an older Jeep that had the mechanical transfer case. I loved that. Then I got a newer Jeep and it had this electronic transfer case. I hated that. I like the mechanical linkage to a system. Mechanical systems are far more reliable than an electrical system. I know some people may dispute that, but I will always prefer a mechanical system in a device that my life depends on than I will an electronic system. What is the reason we jailbroke phones before? There were a lot of things we couldn't do. Like, so before iPhones had the ability to do block listing and everything in there, I used to install an app called iBlocklist when I had a stalker in high school. Crazy. Seriously, like, screw loose. It was not fun. She would spam my phone and call me like 20, 30 times a day. It was an issue of I just happened to be nice and friendly to a girl, and she thought I was into her and wanted to be her boyfriend, and yeah. It was like bad enough that like I left the country to go to school for a year, came back, she ran into me at a grocery store, phone started blowing up again. So I was jailbreaking for that reason. We jailbroke to customize our phones and do a lot of the different icon moves and things that we did. We used to jailbreak to get video games on there before the App Store existed as we know it today. Before, apps used to be web apps. Everything was a web app that, you know, was just basically a website wrapped around it. It wasn't anything locally run. The jailbreak store, Cydia, whatever you want to call it, is actually what was the blueprint for a lot of what we know as the App Store now. But jailbreaking today is not really worth it. It doesn't really add much value to the system anymore. And I haven't seen anyone propose things that make me want to jailbreak a phone anymore. Yeah, the recent "why don't Europeans drive U.S. cars" question has highlighted the lack of choice. Yeah. Like, I lived in Europe. I can tell you the reasons why Europeans don't drive American cars. Because you have better cars. I'm not just talking about in terms of cost and things like that. The design and everything. Even American car companies realized y'all have some different designs, that you have cars out in Europe made by Ford, made by Chevy, that we don't have access to in our own market. Because funnily enough, they're legal in the EU, but they're not legal in the US. I don't get it. I do think we should have an international standard of auto design and everything between the EU and US. I think we should modernize that because we are a global supply chain and global company, global economy. What's your opinion on Bigfoot's left toe? Or is that political? Well, which left toe? That's the question. I got a Ford commercial, damn you, Chief. Built Ford Tiff. How's your Easter going? You mean my Passover? Just finished it. We just had pizza. Finally broke Passover. 8 days of matzah. At least I got whole wheat matzah. Turned from a blockade in my butt to a bombardment because we got whole wheat at least. I have the Ford 169. Enter driving on the left-hand side. Driving on the left-hand side is primarily, from what I recall, a UK thing. That's a holdover, as I recall, from your medieval times when knights used to pass each other so that your right hand, your sword hand, would be available when you could actually approach another person on a horse and strike them, if I recall correctly. It's a dated thing that I think needs to be, it needs to get rid of in the UK, because the majority of Europe, I remember when I was in Europe, I lived in Germany for a while, and I've been in Portugal. The majority of the world drives on the left side, left-hand side of the car. The UK is one of the very few countries, I think it's like, when we're talking about very few, like, we're talking on one hand, or two hands maybe, that actually have right-hand drive. Should I break my iPhone for installing phone call recording, maybe YouTube run in the background and more? You can do YouTube in the background without jailbreaking. I do it often on the free app. You just bring the app to, you minimize the screen on YouTube, then you can go and app an app, or you pay for it, and then you can do YouTube in the background. And as far as call recording, there's a lot of paid for apps that can do call recording. Not that new of a concept. Like I said, not anything specific. There's an F-150 Raptor locally near to me here. It's wider than some roads. Yeah, I would never get an American car to drive in Europe. I remember when I was looking at going to Portugal, I was even like, I don't even know if I want to bring my SUV. It's a bit big. And then Yitz has an even bigger one, and I keep trying to tell him, like, dude, no, if you want to move to Europe, just get rid of your car and get a smaller car. What is the most private car? Not a modern car. Get something at least a decade old or so. Preferably get yourself something what is it, 92, 93 without OBD. But even OBD is a pretty private system because a lot of them don't have internet connectivity. Basically, you want a car without internet connectivity. Y'all just drive on the wrong side. Australia does as well. Yeah, well, Australia does a lot of things to kill themselves with, the animals and things like that. So, it's not really an argument. The majority of the world drives on the right-hand side. I mean, the left-hand side. We drive on the right, but we are in the left-hand side of our car. Oh, Australia's left side drive? I thought so. Why drive when we can fly? DIY electric cars private. Yeah. Have you seen, like, the people that convert, like, the old Camaros and stuff like that into electric cars? I would love to get myself an old Charger. Electrify that. That would be a sweet car. I need help building my first lab. Home lab. Discord server. Check the Discord server we have. The links are in the bio for that. We have an entire PDF someone shared in the pinned comments in the general chat. About 600 pages of all these different kinds of home labs, virtual home labs that you can look at to learn a lot of base concepts and everything like that. So definitely recommend that. How to close the open ports on iPhone. Any specific app? There shouldn't really be open ports on there except for things doing Bonjour, Apple AirPrint, very basic things on your device. Your iPhone, generally speaking, on networking, and this goes for every other device pretty much out there for the most part, doesn't allow open connectivity to it. The biggest weakness in terms of open connectivity is Bluetooth, where you can do like Bluetooth BLE spam attacks and stuff like that. There's been some people doing some fun at DEF CON with that kind of thing. That's the bigger issue. More so than worrying about what ports are open on your iPhone. The iPhone out the box is, without doing anything weird or, installing custom software, is already one of the most secure mobile devices out the box. It's not as secure as, like, say, Graphene OS with a custom, ROM installed on a Pixel, but I'm talking about out the box. You only need to flip a few switches and you have a pretty good device. Can we see your radio stuff? My radios are mostly just HTs right now. I'm going to hopefully have a Radio Shack built in a few months, and I'll go through it as I get into HF. Right now I'm just doing VHF and UHF. But I do some GMRS. Not much, because there's not a lot of people doing GMRS nearby. It's just good to have. But mostly ham. I do a few talks and things like that, net talks and all that. It's kind of fun to do, though. I am going to be teaching myself CW, Morse code, but I'll probably get into that after my CCSP. Right now I'm studying for my general ham license, that I'm probably going to take a break, focus on the CCSP. Once I get CCSP, switch back to Amateur Extra. But we have a Radiohead channel in the Discord. What is your Discord? The links are in bio. You can go to discord.chiefgeek3d.com if you want. The links are out there for y'all that are, it's in the links. So you can go to the links in the TikTok page or the Twitch or the YouTube, or you can go to discord.chiefgeek3d.com. That'll give you a 302 redirect to the Discord invite. So you don't have to, look that up. That's different things. Have you been to Pennsylvania? Yes. Too many potholes. You're not allowed to call an iPhone secure. You'll upset people. Well, that's the reality. And if people are upset about it, then that just shows how little they understand the tech world. Because there's a reason why a lot of people use iPhones in enterprise settings. Besides that, like it or not, in terms of MDM, they still have one of the better systems. Because Android is really, really patchy and broken in terms of doing end-to-end MDM, where you can just order the device. It's customized and out the box the way you need it for enterprise. Because people don't know this, but as much as I complain about Apple, you do have an Apple business account. You can actually create an MDM profile using Jamf, Jump Cloud, or many other systems out there, even Intune. Drop that into your Apple business account, and then any phone or even Mac you order straight from the Apple store can go to your end user, pre-configured for your company's setup. And all they have to do is unbox the new device and then boop. I remember my first root and ROM change in 2010, waking up to my phone making its own international calls and trying to buy paid apps like NFL. Life-changing experience. Stealing an idea for the Discord redirect. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's a fun idea I came up with a couple years ago because I got tired of, sharing the link. So I'm just like, discord.chiefgeek3d.com, 302 redirect. Whoop! And then whenever the invite breaks for whatever reason, or I need to change it, just create the new link, drop that redirect in. Cloudflare is great for a lot of stuff like that. Opinion on 420. It's a thing. Smoke them if you got them. Not me. I don't do that stuff anymore. Haven't done that in quite a while. Nothing against it, just not my cup of tea. It was a fun part of my life, don't get me wrong. I had some really fun stories around that kind of stuff. But, not my cup of tea. Made me a little bit lazy, and, my family's got heart issues and stuff like that, and I just didn't want to chance it, things like that. But, look, some people use it. I have a relative that has a medical card. She uses it because she has to deal with things. I have a friend that uses it. I do understand the medical benefits for it and all that. It's just not my cup of tea. But smoke them if you got them. Enjoy yourself. And in a little bit, we will be playing Schedule 1. So I have nothing against it. In a few minutes there. Thoughts on EU Apple backdoor request? Hey, EU government. Hey, EU government. I got a message for you. I'm going to need you to come in close for this. All right? All right? The message is this. No. This goes into my point that the problem is that government has this common misconception that they think that they're the ones that should have access to everything, single one of our devices, and they believe that if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. I understand the concerns about going after CSAM. I'm okay with checking, cloud-hosted files, checking to see if the hashes match up to known CSAM and everything. I'm not saying we're ever going to have a perfect system. Nothing is perfect. This world's not perfect. I do applaud any and every effort to go after CSAM-type material and everything. It should not be something that exists. And if you're into that kind of thing, I'm not going to get too in-depth with it, but let's just say that I believe a nice 9mm sized injection to your frontal lobe is in order for people that are okay with that. Kids should be protected. But with that being said, I don't agree with the pretext and context of basically treating everyone as if they are a criminal because we have things we want to protect and hide. A backdoor for one is a backdoor for all. We've learned this with the recent Salt Typhoon compromise of the United States telecommunications systems, because they took advantage of the very same wiretap backdoors and such that law enforcement had in the United States to access all of our telecommunications systems. This is why NIST even got rid of the FIPS 185 protocol standard, which was escrowed key communication. It was a very flawed concept, and not to get too political, that is one of the concepts with the whole discussion around the Clipper chip, which used technology like that, is why I don't really care for Hillary Clinton, because when she was senator, she was a proponent of this type of escrowed key communication. So I don't agree with government having an inherent backdoor, nor requiring that we lower our security just to make government's job easier of investigating things. If the government needs more resources, that's one thing to stop these things. But it's not okay for you to lessen the security of everyday people, because it's not just government that we have to worry about. It's all the nefarious, malicious attackers and things like out there that we have to consider every day. We see the breaches every day, from people getting their data, hacked, leaked, breached, compromised, phished, ransomware, all of that. And that is a bigger concern, I think, than the government treating everyone like they are a potential suspect. So no, I don't agree with the backdoor. Whether it be the EU, whether it be the US, I don't care. People have an inherent right to privacy and to secure their applications and systems and ecosystems to their own heart's content, and shouldn't be looked upon suspiciously for wanting to do so. 7 more Discord boosts to help Chief unlock custom invite link. Yeah, that'd be nice. The problem is, if they did let me do custom link, the problem is when you're dependent upon the Discord boosts and everything like that, you have to keep those up and everything, which is why I did the redirect as a way to make sure that wasn't an issue. But it would be nice if I got a custom link. What's up, Only Cans? How do you juggle between loving soldering PCB and staring at a screen all day programming? My friend, it's this thing called ADHD. It's not me juggling. It's me chasing the butterflies. And the squirrels. I know some IT admins that though they should have that level of access, that you mean that they think that should have that level of access all that time. Yeah, and that's the problem is we get into that all the time with different people at where I work, where they think they need to have more access than they should. And it comes down to principle of least privilege and things like that. A lot of people aren't really thinking of the potential risks with too much access. And that's the problem. You think BitLocker is potentially backdoored? Also, what's the best encryption app software? I don't think it's potentially backdoored so much as flawed. So BitLocker by default actually does upload your BitLocker key to your Microsoft account. Now, I understand why that is. So a lot of people aren't going to write down their BitLocker key and, they're going to need to get access and all that stuff. I'm not disputing that part of the discussion. But BitLocker, I recall, has been compromised, if I remember correctly. I prefer the Linux Lux system and Veracrypt containers for a cross-platform system to encrypt all your different files. I'll eventually have some YouTube content covering that as well. Is the dead internet? What are you talking about? The dead internet theory where bots are feeding bots on bad information and everything? I can believe it. I believe we as people are dead already inside. That's a whole other discussion. How was BitLocker compromised? I remember reading it a while ago. Let me see if I can pull up the article. 1 second. BitLocker compromised. Oh, it was patched a while ago, but there was a vulnerability that was found. There was a way to decrypt information. There's also new vulnerabilities coming out all the time, as we know. TPM bypass when you have an external TPM. There was a medium security flaw. CVE 2023-21563. Yeah, you had to have physical access to the device, but you have physical access. You're pretty much pwned. Raspberry Pico can exploit it. I can believe it. There were some issues with it, I think. Yeah, but there's also the TPM flaws and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan on UEFI. I've been more of a fan of basic input-output system BIOS. I remember there's some companies that still purposely built their own servers. I think Google is one of them. Fully support that dead internet theory, but only because some personalities I meet on Discord cannot be real people. Oh yeah, I've met some interesting characters, if that's what you're getting at. What if ISO became a source? Open source. Wait, what? What do you mean by that? They finna put cybersecurity in the government. That has to be a joke. What are you talking about? Oh, iOS. If iOS became open source, hell would freeze over. I doubt Apple's ever going to completely open source their software because most of Apple's power comes from the software that they have and the proprietary, nature around it to make money. Now, if I recall, the Darwin kernel is open source that you can plug into Mac and everything. Oh, they even halted investigation monitoring Russia. Yeah, they did that a while ago. I even talked about how they disbanded the Cybersafety Review Board as one of Trump's very first executive orders when he came into office, and that was where I was like really concerned. Yeah, Apple sells an ecosystem, so they're not going to do that. Who can even buy Google Chrome? That'll be interesting because with the Google antitrust lawsuits and everything going on, there is the very real possibility the government may require Google to divest certain parts of its business because it is essentially a monopoly. I'm more surprised that it took them this long to get to the point of actually understanding that Google is a monopoly than the fact that it was ruled that it's a monopoly. Elon's overtaxed. You have to understand. If I recall, I can't remember where I found this information, but somebody said if Tesla drops to less than $114, Elon may get margin called and lose a whole bunch of money in assets. Elon doesn't really have liquid assets. He already overextended himself on the whole Twitter debacle, and he's shelling out money just to keep Twitter afloat. See you later, Jim. Have a good night. I just recently made a Facebook account to communicate with relatives, and God, I hate meta BS. Oh, I totally agree. Hey, thank you for the follow, Fenrir is the Great. Thank you over on the Twitch side of things. Doesn't matter to me, I use Brave. Well, you use Chromium. Google pays for a lot of the Chromium developments. So, in a way, you still do. That's the problem with Brave, as I've said before in another video. The only real alternative to the Chromium monopoly is Firefox. Signalgate. Yeah, we were just talking about Signalgate. It came back. Pete Hegseth had his wife, his brother, and his attorney in another chat. It was just revealed in Signal. So we're now on Signalgate 3.0. What's up, CK? How's it going? Moist Critical mentioned that Elon is bleeding money just to keep up Twitter. Oh yeah, absolutely. Twitter was overvalued as it was when it was $44 billion. But now Elon killed most of the value of Twitter. Twitter had most of its value, as I recall, in the branding of Twitter. And he literally X'd out the value. Twitter was worth billions of dollars as a brand. X as a brand is worth millions of dollars. Billions? Millions. Billions? Millions. The honest truth is, I think people need to get away from the thinking that because someone is rich, that they are smart. I've met smart people that are broke, and I've met dumb MFs who are wealthy. Never been a fan of Elon Musk. Neither have I. And look, if you look into his history, as far back as when he had the original X.com payment system, which was acquired by PayPal, and then he got fired by PayPal. He even was told then he's selling hopes and dreams and fairy tales and everything. If you want to understand, Elon's basically going through a midlife crisis, the same thing as Jeff Bezos. The difference is that as much as people don't like Jeff Bezos is quiet in comparison. The things we hear about Jeff Bezos are minuscule compared to what Elon's doing. He's so obsessed with X. He's obsessed with X to the point he named his kid X. He, made an entire company named X. It made no sense. He had this affinity for it. And by the way, last I checked, X.com is still in GoDaddy, the actual domain registrar. Not a fan of most wealthy people. I wouldn't say I'm a fan, but Warren Buffett is not the worst. Warren Buffett, I think, is okay. If you actually look into Warren Buffett, he's actually a pretty modest dude. The companies he owns, the way he lives, but Is he super wealthy? Yes. But he's not the worst by far. I think Bill Gates is on his redemption arc. I still, upset at the guy for what he did during his Microsoft years and the bully that he was and everything, but the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, philanthropically, done a lot of good. I can't really say the same for Elon Musk in terms of his wealth. I can't say the same for Jeff Bezos in terms of their wealth. Elon Musk, if he wanted to, could single-handedly use a lot of his wealth to handle a lot of the poverty and food insecurity issues that are just in this country alone, let alone the world, with his, a percentage of his wealth. I don't know what that percentage is, but I know he could cover it. Even if not for in perpetuity, it would go a long way. Even I've told people, like, look, if I ever had $10 million in investments, I could live what I need to do for my life, and anything above that I could use for philanthropy. What distro do I use? I use Debian. I use Pop OS for most of my stuff, and then I use Cubes OS on my security laptop. Then I use Parrot OS when I'm trying to tinker with red teaming stuff. I'm slowly trying to learn more offensive stuff. Buffett is just a typical neoliberal going to bequeath everything to Bill and Melinda when he goes. Buffett is still hoarding money for no reason. Well, a lot of Warren Buffett's money was in assets. And a lot of his money is actually owned by Berkshire Hathaway, not necessarily his personal wealth, from what I recall. Some sources say the guy's worth $250 billion. Ooh, Elon? Well, yeah, Elon's net worth has been going down with the whole, Tesla pricing and everything. Elon said he'd solve world hunger, but when given the plans on how to, he didn't follow through. And that's why I don't care for Elon. He talks a big game to make people like him more. He wants to... The honest truth is, this is the sense I've got from the guy. And apparently, this is what a lot of people, even in the Trump administration, are saying. They don't care for him. He always has to feel like he's the smartest person in the room. He can be in a room with Nobel laureates, some of the brightest people in the world, and still feel like he is the smartest person in the room. He is the epitome of the Dunning-Kruger effect. He even needs people to, laugh at his jokes and be surrounded by yes men and all that. Whereas in comparison, I and many other people like to be the dumbest person in the room because that's how we learn and grow. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to be just a dude in a room so I can actually learn and grow and improve myself in my knowledge and being as a person. But Elon Musk could actually do a lot of things to improve the world, but chooses not to. A lot of the things he does are basically half measures or things that on PR look great, but actually in reality are just not really helping much. Let's talk about the fact that he talks about we open source the patents for Tesla. And I'm like, okay, that's great, but the real power would be open sourcing the source code for your EVs and stuff. So a lot of people wouldn't have to just go off of patents. They could actually have an open source platform to build these systems on. That would be far more beneficial. And he's been called out on that, and he goes quiet. He's been called out on how he could fix world hunger, and he goes quiet. He said he could save the entire U.S. federal government $3 trillion and is now saying, I can maybe at best give you $3 billion or whatever number it was. He makes these grandiose promises, then under-delivers. He's the epitome of overpromise, underdeliver, and the Dunning-Kruger effect. He pulled the same crap in Iron Man meeting Tony. Uh, use cubes on a flash drive or SSD HDD. I use it on a flash drive to install, but it's on an SSD. You gotta install it. He parrots whatever the top engineers at his company say after they dumb it down for him. Oh, pretty much. That's pretty much how it works with him. You could tell. Because he misses a lot of the nuance with a lot of these discussions, and he talks about things as if it's a fact when a lot of these things are merely just theory. I don't think I ever want to feel like the smartest person in the room. I don't want to either. It's boring. Like, I want you to think about this. Have you ever been in a room of just toddlers? Think about that. Don't get me wrong. I love kids. You know, it's really amazing to teach them new ideas and concepts that are completely unfamiliar to them and expand their horizons on the world. But at a certain point, go ask any mother. They're tired of being around their kids all day long. Not because they don't love their kids, but they need adult interaction. They need to grow. They need to expand. And that may not be the only reason, but you get what I'm getting at here. Fathers do the same things when they're around their kids all the time. They love their kids, but they need to go with adults. They need to, you know, expand their horizons and everything. I'm assuming at this point we've heard of Doge infiltrating the NLRB. Yeah, we talked about that a little while, Shiraz. He's been doing the same stuff to a bunch of different government agencies, not just the NLRB. Open source data collected from all his vehicles so that people could use it to build with. Oh, did you hear that apparently there's a lawsuit against Tesla manipulating the speed at which the odometer is going so that way it gets the cars out of warranty faster? Did y'all see that lawsuit? Someone was showing me it the other day. Tesla lawsuit odometer. Let's see. Tesla accused of rigging odometer. Tesla sued for odometer fraud that could void warranty on 1 million vehicles. And this goes back to what I said about, like, I'd rather have mechanical connections than drive-by-wire and all that. Where's the other chat you're reading from? I have a multi-chat here for Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. I stream on all 3 platforms when I can. Yes, because I'm sometimes designated. Yes, sometimes I'm designated babysitter at family events. So you know what my pain is there, Shiraz. I don't know if Pegasus is installed on my phone. Okay, so first of all, you're probably not important enough for Pegasus to be installed on your phone. You're probably not targeted by a nation-state actor, but if you are, there are ways to look it up. The Electronic Frontier Foundation, I think, had some documentation on tools that are out there to detect if Pegasus is installed on your devices. I haven't dived too much into it, but it's there. There's tools to detect it. And the Russians that tried to hack in apparently got cock-blocked by 2FA. Well, I heard that they disabled MFA and disabled other systems. There's a whistleblower that actually came out and talked about a lot of this stuff. But yeah. No, but that would probably be easy to catch on one of those insurance trackers or dash cams. Not necessarily, because you have to understand, that's reading from the OBD system. It's not necessarily tracking all the systems there. It's relying on the system being fed from OBD to be accurate. And a lot of the people that are using insurance in a Tesla, as I recall, I could be wrong, but I know talking to a few friends that have had Tesla has their own insurance that, you know, can feed from the car and everything like that. So, yeah. I don't like the idea Tesla staff can see live or past videos of inside of car video. Did you hear about the scandal of employees actually sharing videos from people's own Tesla cams, like people doing the fun thing, the wild thing in their car, and they'd capture that and share it around and all. You really don't have that much privacy in a Tesla. I don't agree with it either. What's Pegasus? So Pegasus is this malware that was designed by I think it was the NSO group, if I'm not mistaken. That was used to spy on people, journalists, and a bunch of other stuff at the request of governments, most often, in Android and iOS. So, yeah. And that's also a big reason why the NSA recommends that you should reboot your phone once a week. A lot of that malware is not persistent, so seriously, reboot your phone once a week. You can resolve a lot of problems. Just reboot your phone once a week. What's the worst that happens? Just do it. Android will soon auto reboot for you in 3 days. Ha! Graphene OS has already been doing that for years. I'm actually looking at switching to Graphene OS as my primary everyday device, but I was looking at doing that with the Pixel 10, and these tariffs are making me question if that will even be viable. Reboot it exactly once a week every Saturday. Yeah, I kind of reboot my phone once a week. I tried to remember to do it once a week, but I do it about once a week. My Graphene automatically does it. If I don't touch it, it reboots every 12 hours, I think. That way I put it down to charge, and by the time I wake up, it's already rebooted. Went from Twitch to TikTok. Watching on the new phone. We'll go back to Twitch. You seem to be more shiny. Yeah, it's because I'm bald. Alright, I gotta take a quick bathroom break, grab some more pizza, and then we'll probably switch gears to play Schedule 1. And we can still talk tech and hang out and everything like that, but, yeah. Use separate VRFs apart from VLANs. I'm getting deeper into setting up my, network properly. I gotta move my Rokus and printers over, but let me use the bathroom. Nature's calling. Grab some more pizza, so, like, I'll be back in, like, 2 minutes. You might see some ads on the Twitch side, just so that we can avoid them in the future. You'll see a BRB screen, but we will be back. All right, we are back. All right. Oh yeah, I had to buy a new printer. 2D printer. It pissed me off because my printer was having issues, but I think it wasn't an issue with the printer per se. It was something on my network for some reason. It was working fine for a while, but and then I had to reinstall because the printer was too new. I had to do IPP, internet printing everywhere, or whatever it's called, to get it working properly on this. But yeah, pulled a couple of $600 grill. Not the most expensive grill I've seen, but there are some expensive grills out there. I hate 2D printers. 2D printers are the bane of my existence. Alright, let's see. Make sure the audio is working now that I got the pipe wire script going.
Front, left.
Gotta move my filters.
Front, left. Front, right.
Okay, cool. Anytime anyone asks me to fix their printer, my default answer is throw it away. Pretty much. I hate it. I hate it. I hate the instant ink programs. I hate everything about it. I hate what printers have become. I hate the fact that they cost so much even as old as they are. I hate the fact that the ink costs more than the damn printer. I just don't like it. And brothers know better than a lot of this stuff. Where is... Hold on. Getting the audio going for the vibe. There we go. Alright, let me make sure the YouTube is not piping the audio in. I had that issue, and then I had to go through and clear out a bunch of songs. Hate printers so much, I still fax. Yeah, I hate printers. I really do. The 2D ones are horrible. 3D ones are great. I'd rather deal with 3D printers than 2D printers. Oh. I was like, what the hell came through the curtain? My dog. Alright, hold on. You have a home lab? I've mentioned it a little bit in my, prior videos. Okay, cool. I fixed... Cool. So all my music's not going through on the YouTube side. YouTube doesn't have the ability to switch channels, split channels, I've noticed. But I'm but yeah, like yeah, the home lab, I'll eventually have more content covering it. I got some things I'm working on. I do want to replace a couple of access points in there. Because I think one of my APs is going, so I'm probably going to install another. I'm going to replace both Unify APs with their Wi-Fi 7 ones. Just a hard life. All right. So the schedule 1 is an oddly addictive game. I've noticed this. What was the Xbox 360 like? It was awesome. You push the rating message or Twitter auto know? Right. The what? Twitch. Twitch should automatically push it when I switch titles. Twitch should take care of that stuff, but yeah. All right, let's see, where was I at? Oh yeah, we need to trim our crop. You know, the problem with this game is it makes everyone think that, you know, growing is a lot easier than it is. I could tell you from my college experience, it ain't this easy. There we go. Shift clicking? No, it was a matter of I was trying to do jars. Can't stand the rain. Oh, we'll get that in a sec. Hold up. It makes things faster. Oh yeah, the shift clicking works great for other things, but not this, what I was trying to do. I'm about to get my dealer in a sec. I'm kind of surprised TikTok hasn't given me issues with this game so far. Because usually they're so iffy on everything else. Alright, so now... Man, if it was this easy in real life, I don't think anyone would be buying things. Alright, so now we got the 4 jars there. Alright, so let's put the baggies over there. Let's get the sour D. Oh, didn't know. I just pressed the arrow keys by chance. That's annoying. This is the Watch Chief be a bad version of Scarface. I am Walmart Scarface. What's in your PC? I got the specs over on the Twitch side of things. I actually run a 2 PC stream setup. the actual stream PC is running Windows because of all the plugins and everything, but, Alright, so... Put that there. And then... Let's grab some seeds. I need to get a bigger place. Oh. A and D as well, along with spacebar. Oh, I didn't know about the spacebar thing. Yeah, I've only played this game for a couple of days. Bungalow is great. 6,000. Oh, yeah. I think I just got 6K, so I gotta, drop that in. Alright, so let's put the trimmers away. Let's put that away. And then let's do a little cleanup. Alright, may as well grab a bag. I wish you could pick up multiple bags at once. I wish you could open the door with the bag in your hand. At least take the trash out. Yeah, you got 30K net worth. I think I'm at 14.7 if I saw that correct. I still got to make a strain worth at least 60 bucks. I still haven't gone to the, better strains. Wow, 54 bucks. Even my trash is getting worth more money. Are you selling meth yet? Not yet. Alright. So, taco ticklers. Now, I do think they need to improve the skateboard mechanics. She wants 3 sour D's. Okay, basketball court. Midwestern Gas Mart. Cool. We got about an hour. DA Honeypot? Maybe. We can probably at least get... Oh, probably gonna need more money for that. What was that down there? Oh, mixing station. I want a raspberry-filled bear claw. Yeah? Up with the 4G Stingray you did a few weeks back. Yeah, you just need the Orbic Wi-Fi thing, and then you don't need a SIM card to work with it. You just need if you want to do some more sophisticated detections, you can buy a Verizon SIM card and some of that stuff. Or he wants OG. All right. Told me a skater boy, said to you later, boy. He wasn't good enough for her. Now he's a superstar slamming on his guitar. Bot account join your matrix. Wait, now we're getting bots in the matrix? That's annoying. You know, it's funny how dated a lot of this is, because, like, people used to drive up and stuff. Well, I guess I'll probably get to that point. Some homeless encampment. Yeah, let's just meet random people underneath a bridge. Oh, that was you? Okay. I need to pay more attention to the Matrix. I've just been so busy. Bot test. Man, I wish that, you know, the stuff actually growed that fast. Now you know. Oh, now you know. Alright, so I need to get... See you later, Bobby. Have a good night. This is a very authoritarian town. 9 o'clock curfew. The hell is that doing? Oh shit. Ow. I think my crown just came out. Well, gotta call the dentist tomorrow. Yeah, my crown just came out. That's just great. Ah. Yeah, bit on it. That hurt. Yep. Crown. Front tooth. I gotta call the dentist tomorrow. This is gonna suck. And I wasn't eating anything hard. Ah. I don't get a fucking break, man. To be fair, that crown lasted, I think, yeah, close to 10 years, that one. Yeah, as soon as I bit down, I was like, that's a little bit hard. Ah. The worst part was biting it. Now I know what I gotta do tomorrow on my day off. Lovely. Even worse, I'm gonna be talking with like a little lift thing. May as well just start selling mouths because now I'm just freaking toothless. Like, oh. Man, I was having a good day too, and then like suddenly it's like, yeah, we're just gonna F up and have your crown just pop out of your mouth. Can't get a break. Man, I'm really pissed off that my tooth fell. At the part where the supplier shoots you, takes your equipment, or are you past that? Oh, thanks for spoiling that part. You keep on passing me by. She keeps on passing me by. Alright, so now we're going to dump that there. Alright, let's go to our dealer, get that money. It's annoying how you can't deal out of jars, but he can. Alright, so now let's drop my scissors off. I forgot to drop off there. Let's at least go get my, random police cars right there. Let's go to the gas mart at least. I think they need to improve the skateboarding mechanic. Are you past the part with the police raid? Do you mean when we, start the game? No, I haven't gotten that far yet. When Benji rats on you? No, I haven't, gotten that far yet. I'm just about to buy my first property. If I can remember where the realtor is. Man, I'm still pissed. I gotta go to the dentist tomorrow. Okay, so where is the bungalow? Oh, it's on the other side of the town. Yeah, they really got to fix some of the skateboard mechanics and stuff. Yeah, wrong way. Alright, so let's get to the bungalow at least. Okay. Alright, so we definitely gotta buy some shiz. Okay, so we're gonna need that. We'll start prepping this. Man, it feels really weird to talk without my tooth in my front. It'll cause a gas leak. Wait, what? Well, that bites. But don't I need to cause that to, like, get progression in the game, or is it something I avoid, or... Don't need it to happen. You can trigger it with the insurance money, but you have to get insurance from the realtor first, and it's also never really worth it. Oh. Okay, so now... Alright, so now let's get this growing. Fill that up for later. Mostly random, but you have to at least have some growing set up there. Kind of surprised I can just walk right by them with as much weed as I got on me. Alright. I find it so funny. People are like, let's meet under the bridge. Alright, so now... 3 OG. Okay, so now let's go complete this deal over here. Everyone wants OG. Oh shit. They got a blockade over there. I find it weird that they just have the blockade on the one side. Alright. Thank you for the follow, Pancake Benny. Alright, let's see. Alright, trim, trim, trim. Alright, so put those jars there. Gotta pick up some more jars. Yeah, I'm using Pop! OS right now for my gaming stuff. Ooh, diggable planets. Why do I keep doing that? Alright, let's get jars. Alright, so we've got Albert Hoover stash. Ooh, like that. 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 Ooh. Wait, did he run out of products? Seriously? He can't have run out of product. I gave him a shit ton. No, he's out dealing. Yeah, they need to fix this. Leave some cash in the stash. It'll auto pay off debts. Huh, that makes sense. I was wondering about that. Alright, let's pour the soil in. Alright, cool. I do find a few of the actions in this game a little bit tedious, though. Alright, so we've got that planted. Alright, so... what's the orbit thing? Oh, are you talking about the orbic? Like the wireless hotspot? Or are you talking about something different? Oh, the hotspot? Yeah, that's for detecting stingrays. It's a really cool proof of concept the Electronic Frontier Foundation came up with. Oh, we're playing Schedule 1. We're dealing drugs. Drugs. Stay in school, don't do drugs. Alright, let's put these 4 jars there. Easter, hope you had a good one. I mean, I'm Jewish, so I'm dealing with Passover. Had to deal with matzah all week long. What's the point of this game? Drugs, man. Drugs. You know, we make drugs, we sell drugs. $29 for my trash. Okay, cool. Alright. So. Cool. Oh, Benji's still dealing. Okay. I think that's her. Yep, that's Chloe. Alright, so she's paying for 3. You can talk to Benji if he's out dealing, if you bump into him or find him on the map. Okay. I still got plenty of green. Oh, I was going the complete wrong way. Sweet. Alleyway behind the slop shop. Alright, so... let's pay off my debts. Probably drop some cash in there. And I think what I have to do is I have to make a better strain. So, let's see. Oh, these are not done yet. Kind of annoying, can only put 5 in that slot. Alright, so... I'll probably put another storage shelf there. Now I know what I can do. Yeah, we can put a storage shelf there. We'll set up another grow for the high-end stuff at the motel room. Hey, Draco, how's it going? All right. Hey, Ingo, how's it going? Doing all right? How you been? Been good. Just busy. And I just lost my crown in the middle of this stream, so I gotta go to the dentist tomorrow. Hooray. And then we're just playing this game right now. Yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is. God damn it. Need to get a trash bag, so I gotta run back to my other apartment. Grab a trash bag. Yeah, so I'm kind of talking like a little bit like a toddler that just lost his front tooth, because I just did. Alright, so let's, okay, we can bag that at least. And then put this here. Put this here. At least get this grow up started, you know, right? Alright, so now we need to go get some soil. We got 4, so let's put 8 bags over there. And, put 1 over there. $12.50. Alright, so okay, so let's put the soil and stuff over here. Linux gaming, why did that get you so upset? Because Steam Deck and such exists? Alright, come on, come on. I wish the soil came out faster. Oh, you play on Linux too? Yeah, it works great. Okay, come on. Drop that in. Gotta get the soil hoppers much faster and no trash. Doesn't that take up more space, though? Molvat or Proton? Depends on what your goal is. I think there's a common misconception that people think that VPNs always make you more secure. I mean, they help when you're out in public, but if you're just using it, while you're on your own trusted network, not really going to help much. You'll yield more and you have space for a soil topper. So how do I upgrade to the lights? I proxy on my PC. I need a good VPN for my mobile. Normally use Molvat, but I want to know more. Proton's more secure. Molvat's more private. Because you can have this thing called Secure Core on Proton. You can enable optionally to protect against timed attacks. It is a bit slower, though. What do you mean by private? Well, Molvad you can pay with Monero, for example. For me to fix the game, so I opened up my toolbox. What's the game? 2025 plug? No, it's Schedule 1. All right. Alright, let's go. Green crack. Oh, for a second I thought somebody came in the door. Alright, cool. Are you on beta or full game? I'm on the full game. Okay, so let's get the watering can. Damn it. What's up? Alright, so now let's get some baggies. Alright, so could have sworn. There we go. It's like I could have sworn I had another. There we go. Another peddler. Mixing station Mark II. Chat about how to archive this stuff because when I help build it, I have no idea how to share it. Archive what stuff? Hey. This is schedule 1. Like the tablet I sent you. Oh. Yeah, we need to, talk about some of this stuff. I gotta figure out how to make content on a lot of it, too. Maybe we can get on a call or something and, chat about how, all this stuff worked and the thought process behind it and everything. 'Cause I think that's what a lot of people would be interested in seeing. Alright. Let's try something. Just skating right by the popo. I started ripping files. Like, off of discs and stuff, or... Do it via avatar voice only. Would happy sharing a contribution to this project. Yeah, we can definitely talk about that. Alright, so let's see what we got. Gonna take about a minute. The CS run on Linux? Yeah, Counter-Strike runs on Linux. Alright, let's see. Can I make a strain worth at least $60? Strain's better running on Linux compared to Windows. It depends, but in many cases, yes. God damn. Damn it. It's really awkward when they do that. Okay. What version of Linux? I'm on Pop OS. Is this game illegal? No. It's totally legal to make a game. We're not having you do the actual, drugs. Damn it. What the hell do I have to do to get, like, a magic concoction? What code should I learn for cybersecurity? You don't need to know much in the way of code, per se. But Python is really useful. Only for automation of tasks, pretty much. Unless you're doing app security, which is then more about actually knowing the apps. I mean, hearing the app in a design and all that. All right, let's see. Expected of an entry level SOC analyst. SOC analysts mostly just, are looking at the potential threats and analyzing the patterns inside the company for different things. Not really all that much you'll need to worry about in terms of that stuff. I'm a cybersecurity engineer, so I mostly am just responsible for the platforms. Alright, come on, come on. Does your role consist of coding or not too much? Technically no, but I do a few bits here and there, mostly just for automating different platforms. Alright, so let's see. We've got that there. Oh, I'm missing a bud. That's why. Zib uses more Bash or PowerShell, hardly any coding. Well, Python. Okay, so now, wish you could have more items in your inventory. Shit. Sound of the police. Whoop, whoop. To the sound of the beast. What's my LinkedIn? I don't really use LinkedIn. What game is this? Schedule 1. So we're just making money. Alright, cool. So we've got that taken care of. Overseer. Officer. Alright, so let's see if I can find Benji or whatnot. Alright, give him the jars. Cool. Alright, let's see. Favorite effects, smelly. Okay, they all have about a 66% chance. That's a D. Probably not gonna like it. Okay. We got a new customer. What are you looking at? No! God damn it, I got busted. First time I got busted in this game. Okay, cool. City of Compton. I need to get some more green now. To the next episode. Been installed Vazite and found my SSD is faulty. Oh, that bites. Yeah, I've had those moments where the SSD just bites the dust. And I gotta go to the dentist tomorrow because my crown just came out in the middle of the stream. So, it was new as well. Yeah, that'll happen. It's a manufactured product. There's bound to be defects. Don't even know if I can return it. Well, if it's within 30 days, you should be easily. If it's warranted, you can probably do that. I'm using Pop OS. I bought it off Canada Computers. Don't know who they are. All right, let's see. So let's get these four. So I at least have samples. Until boots. Let me see if I can return. Okay. I see what you mean. All right, let's see. All right, cool. So we got enough jars. Gotta have a nice stream. See you later, rubber wax. All right, let's see. Where am I at? Okay. Potential customer over there. Come on. Like my shit. Screw you. Now let's go to the skate park, get my dead drop. Bright-eyed, refreshing. No, screw you. All right, Doris. Overshot that one. Just lights up in a store. Nice. Just rams right into a car. All right, I see. They gotta swing around. All right. We gonna go 2 for 4? Nice. All right, let's see. Oh, you got plenty of green. All right, come on. Ugh. All right, let's at least pick up that drop before we call it a night. All right, cool. All right, gonna sleep. Cool. All right, think we're gonna call it a night. Pretty good stream, except for the fact that my crown fell out, so I gotta call my dentist first thing in the morning. Woo. But I will be back Tuesday for my next stream. So if you haven't already, make sure to follow me on Blue Sky, Mastodon. I'm on Twitch, I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube. I should have some more YouTube content going, but I'm probably not going to record the other video I was planning to do on the Signal Gate thing till I get my damn tooth fixed, because I'm just, I don't want to come off on screen like that. It looks weird. But yeah. And if you haven't already, make sure to join the Discord, join the Matrix server. I love y'all. Stick around for the raid if you're on Twitch. Otherwise, love y'all. Stay safe and happy hacking.